I came live early yesterday. I came live earlier yesterday because obviously there was a breaking news situation the night before. Bernie Sanders was at an event in Nevada, had some chest issues, and ended up going to the hospital and having two stents put in his heart. An artery was blocked. Obviously, you know, anytime you're talking about the heart, it's not a minor thing. However, stents, like I talked about yesterday, it's pretty normal procedure. And it's not age related. People, men in their 20s, 30s, 40s, doesn't matter. It's not because he's 78. But anytime a 78-year-old is having anything done with the heart, obviously we can't say it's minor. It has to be watched, this and that. But I told you yesterday when I went live, all right, at the moment, the media outlets are being fairly diplomatic. I don't think that's going to last 24 hours. I think cable news in particular, but other outlets are going to try to use this for the inevitable drop out Bernie campaign. They've already been saying, they've already been propping up Elizabeth Warren like nobody's business. I mean, all these outlets, they love Elizabeth Warren to no end. And frankly, while propping up Warren nonstop, they've basically been trying to push a narrative that Bernie's so 2016, Bernie doesn't have the movement anymore. Bernie's flock is fleeing to Warren and all that. You know what's been going on. I told you, I mean, listen, this media, we wish Bernie well and blah, blah, blah. It ain't gonna last. And shockingly, I was right. So let's start with our friends at MSNBC. And we'll see what they had to say. This was this morning on MSNBC, their take on Senator Bernie Sanders hospitalized. Oh, you know what? Before I say that, I should give you the update, of course, if you haven't seen. Jane Sanders issued this statement. Thank you to everyone who reached out yesterday with so many touching and kind messages, wishing Bernie well. We are so moved by your support. Bernie is up and about. Yesterday, he spent much of the day talking with staff about policies, cracking jokes with the nurses and doctors, and speaking with his family on the phone. His doctors are pleased with his progress, and there has been no need for any additional procedures. We expect Bernie will be discharged and on a plane back to Burlington before the end of the weekend. He'll take a few days to rest, but he's ready to get back out there and is looking forward to the October debate. That's Jane Sanders, and I'm telling you right now, I don't know if you're going to convince Bernie Sanders to take a few more days to rest. I don't think this guy is hearing it. I think he's going to stay in the hospital. That's good. Go back to Burlington, maybe take a minute or two to rest, but I don't know if he's going to stay off the field, stay off the campaign trail for that long. Right now, they could hold him down and, not let him leave the hospital. But once he's back in Vermont, I'm not, we know who Bernie Sanders is. I would expect him to be back out there sooner than later. Obviously, forget the campaign. Don't push yourself if you're not feeling well enough, but we'll see what happens. So that statement was released this afternoon, but this morning, MSNBC, not so subtle. Time to go, Bernie. Time to drop out. Let's take a look.
As people probably know by now, he had some stents inserted yesterday, I think it was yesterday. It's so hard to keep track. Yesterday. It's so hard to keep track of the days with everything that's going on. A blockage was found in one of his arteries. But we've got some new reporting. This just came in from our team that covers Bernie Sanders. Quote, "We do not know where Senator Bernie Sanders is. We do not know what state he is in. We do not know if he is in a hospital or not, or what his condition is. The campaign says no comment if he is still in the hospital, and no comment on whether there would even be an update today." From a communications perspective, what do you make of that, Elise?
From a communications perspective, it's doing Bernie Sanders no favor for his campaign staff to look like they're covering up his whereabouts and that they have something to hide. They just need to be forthright and honest. Plenty of people undergo heart procedures, have stents. He could be out on the campaign trail again in a couple of weeks. Honesty would really be the best policy so that it doesn't get deflected and turn into a bigger conspiracy than what the truth could actually probably dispel.
MSNBC, hours before Bernie Sanders' campaign gave an update, you hear the word conspiracy? Bigger conspiracy than it ought to be? You hear almost like, what is he hiding? You know? It's almost like, is he really in a CIA bunker? We don't know. Where is he? What is he doing? What hospital is he in? Has he been airlifted to Cuba? Or Venezuela? Or one of his socialist brethren? We don't know. Where is he? I don't know if any of you have ever been to the hospital. I was in the hospital for back surgery in May, and I don't know if this is what you experienced, but sometimes you don't have an update right away. Sometimes you don't know if you're going to be staying another day, another 3 days, or getting dismissed that afternoon, right? So when I had back surgery in May, I expected to be released that day. But after surgery, they made me stay overnight, which I did not have to stay overnight a year before because I've had 2 back surgeries in 2 years. So if I was a politician, I might have not given an update on my status, where I am, which I don't understand why it matters what hospital he's at or any of that. But maybe they didn't say that he's at the hospital because maybe they were waiting to speak with the doctor to see, can he be discharged today? Does he need to stay several days? I'm not trying to be a Bernie bro here. I'm just talking common sense. Why would a campaign be telling you, yes, he's still in the hospital, where is it, this and that, if it's possible the family was waiting to speak with the doctor? You know, the nurses have to make the rounds. They got to check your blood pressure, check how you're feeling, this kind of thing. But that segment, and unfortunately I'm not done playing it, there's more. That segment was, again, it's all about the narrative in the corporate media. That segment was a subtle, not so subtle way of framing a narrative that there's something more going on here that they're hiding. What do you want them to tell you? Is he still in the hospital? Do you think a 78-year-old man has been dismissed from the hospital less than 24 hours after this procedure? No. And by the way, do you think Joe Biden, if he was hospitalized, would be just giving endless information? I think Bernie Sanders is probably one of the more transparent politicians, but why would the Bernie Sanders campaign give MSNBC, which has been on a political jihad against him for basically 3-4 years now, why would you give MSNBC any more information than is needed? When probably at that time, because that was at 11 a.m. Eastern, that segment, you don't, maybe they didn't know what was happening. Why would you want to tell them, yes, I'm still in the hospital, if you might be released from the hospital? So they tried to push a frame job that Bernie Sanders is hiding something, and you drop in the word conspiracy to make your generally older, white, affluent viewers, because that's the MSNBC viewer, frankly, be even more against Bernie Sanders. Not only is he a communist, but he's hiding that this is a lot worse than just a stent.
Why would they do it even? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Why not just come out and say,
right,
here's the deal. We told you what happened yesterday. Now here's where we are today.
Well, I think they know that their Democratic competitors are respectful enough not to exploit the situation, but this is clearly something that the president would exploit. I do think that hopefully Bernie Sanders is healthy enough and he'll be on the debate stage on the 15th, and I think that he'll try and pivot, and essentially we've already seen him tweet, essentially, I'm fine, Medicare for all, exclamation point.
Are they looking at what happened to Hillary Clinton? Remember when she was at the 9/11 and she was starting to feel faint? She had a little bit of pneumonia, I think it was at the time, and then it became this big thing, at least on the Republican.
But how much better would it have been for Hillary Clinton if she had just said, oh, I have pneumonia? It's not good, but she would have taken the initial hit instead of having it balloon into this story about how she did not have the stamina for office, which to see her out this week doing interviews, she certainly seems to be in great health.
You know, when you're honest about these situations, you leave less of a chance for people to speculate whatever the worst situation is. So if he comes out and says where he is and what's going on, if it's fine, then I think that, the story goes away and we can focus on his policy as far as paying for medical care and sort of something that so many families are dealing with today.
Yeah, I think one of the surprises of this campaign for a lot of people have been that the three frontrunners that we have always talked about, obviously, Biden, Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders are all at least 70, right? And there hasn't been like a whole lot of concern about that. As a matter of fact, Bernie Sanders continues to have a huge amount of support among 20-somethings, 30-somethings. But does this raise age questions? Will people maybe, whether explicitly or implicitly, start to think differently about someone who would be the oldest president ever elected?
It's a completely legitimate question to ask, just as you would ask if someone is too young for the job of president. I think all factors have to be assessed when it comes to the most challenging job in the world that requires a ton of mental and physical stamina. So I don't think it's unfair at all to assess the world as we have to assess it.
Hope I didn't make you mad there. We haven't even gotten to CNN yet. So, a few things. It is a fair question to ask an older candidate about their age. I think so. In general, I think it's fair. I don't, people live longer and longer. Bernie Sanders, up until now, has showed no reason to doubt his medical stamina or whatever. But I don't think it's an unfair question. However, there have been doctors in the last 24 hours that have gone on CNN, The Hill, I saw one saying, this has nothing to do with Bernie Sanders' age. This is not age related. This could happen to anyone at any age. It has to do with stress, your diet, and many other factors. So they're trying to frame it that this is because he's 78, when many people, young and older, get stents to open up an artery and feel more energetic after the fact. Bernie Sanders was barnstorming the country with one of his main arteries blocked, and look at the energy he's had. Imagine what he could be after the fact. But MSNBC didn't have that discussion with a, say, cardiologist or a doctor, to non-expert pundits who threw out the word conspiracy, what are they hiding, those kinds of things. Again, a frame job. And, I know that we live in a 24/7, like, I need to know right now, short attention span. But at 11 a.m. in the morning, when they're saying hiding this is bad form, maybe they weren't hiding it. Maybe they didn't know what the plan was. And then after speaking with the doctors and consulting as a family, they decided to stay in the hospital longer. Maybe the campaign is smart and doesn't want to disclose where he is because he knows that the one time that the media will cover it is when that the media will cover Bernie Sanders is to put cameras outside that hospital to keep putting it in the minds of their viewers, Bernie Sanders in the hospital, and to blow it up as a bigger thing. In that regard, I don't think it's bad strategy at all for Bernie Sanders' campaign to not tell him what hospital he is. I'm sure they'll find out. Because you know that they're going to use it against you. This is not me saying it as a Bernie bro. This is me saying it as straight political strategy. If they know where Bernie Sanders is, you are going to have cameras, producers, and possibly anchors outside because they want to make it very abundantly clear and remind their audience every hour on the hour, Bernie Sanders is hospitalized. Bernie Sanders is hospitalized. It's so transparently obvious what they're doing. So transparently obvious. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.